Hey, we're Random Hero, and this is The Christian Beat.
Thank you guys for sitting down with us. We really appreciate it. We appreciate those awesome.
Oh, it's our pleasure, man. Thank you for having us.
It's great. Awesome. It's great to connect with you. We admittedly haven't got to meet before, so we were going to start with some basic questions. Maybe as basic as the name of the group and how you all kind of formed and got together.
So the name Random Hero, it derived pretty much just from the fact that none of us are in the military or police officers or firefighters, and these are like actual heroes that we all look at and admire. And so it's like, when we thought about being in a band, it was what can we do that would be helpful in any situation. And it's just the best way that we can be a hero to people is just go out and share our hope that we've found in Jesus, and obviously live by the most important commandment he gave us, which is to love everyone. So Random Hero basically anybody can be a random hero, and it's just about doing the small things and sometimes the big things, because you just don't know where people are at. So like holding a door and smiling at somebody, like buying a cup of coffee for them, just being intentional about doing good to others. So that was what Random Hero basically came from.
What an awesome message.
Thank you.
So we know that you have some new music and an album coming out sometime soon. So what can you tell us a little bit about that project, the songs that are on that, and things like that?
I was going to make a joke, but I figured I probably shouldn't do that.
I mean,
So we have a new record?
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a new record coming out, and the new record's called Tension, and we're very excited about it. It's different than anything we've done in the past, and it was from the get-go, from like the beginning of the entire thing. We were challenged by our label and our peers to look outside the box that we were in and grow musically and spiritually and together. And it's like, okay, so we took that, and we're very athletic. We like to be athletic. We think we're athletic people, but we're very competitive in that nature. And so when our label came up to us, they were like, we don't know if you guys can do better than what you've already done. And it was like, it was a smart tactic, because it was like reverse psychology, where people are like, we just need to push you, you can do this, but he was like, I don't think you can do it. And it was just like immediate switch. We were like, game on, we can do this. And so we came out and did co-writes with two legendary humans, and we love them dearly. Kellen McGregor from Memphis Mayfire and Josiah Prince from Disciple. And I'll let you guys kind of talk about the process of it, but for me it stretched me beyond what I thought that I could do. And artistically, they pushed us in every direction to not just ride the fence here or not do this, but let's say this and let's find out where we're going to take this, and it was, oh man, when we came out of the whole thing, I just felt like, I think all of us can agree, we felt like we were better at our craft, which is an awesome experience to go into.
Yeah, this was the first record that we've ever written as a band, where every day we were a team unit, and they were there the day I tracked drums. We were there the day Rob tracked bass. We all did everything, vocals, everything as a team. And so this is the first time that we got to do an album as such. And we got to the studio the first day with Kellen McGregor, and we were immediately put out of our comfort zone and put on the spot. So he turns around, he's got the session prepped and everything, and we probably drove 100 miles an hour to get there. We're so excited, and he looks at us and he's like, so what do you got for me? And we I just looked at Rob. What you got, Rob?
I was sitting in the corner, and I'm just like, please God, let them have something cool. Just let them have something. And they were like, we don't have anything.
Yeah, we don't got it.
And I was like,
I thought about writing maybe ideas or something before coming up. I know Aaron did too, because he would send us some voice memos and stuff. And but what we really wanted to do was come up here and just be vulnerable to the gift that we were given. And Aaron has a cool story that he'll go into
just
about
clean slate.
Yeah, and Aaron had a cool prophecy that was put over him. So
I was at church and helped lead worship when I can, when we're not on tour. And so my pastor was praying over me, this other guy, and as they were praying over me, they stopped. And this guy's like, I feel like the Holy Spirit's telling me that I need to tell you that there's a sound coming from the throne room of heaven, that only you guys can hear. And he said, if you listen for that sound and you capture that sound, it'll change the world. And I mean, when people speak that stuff, just like not necessarily knowing what we're doing or where we're going, or, you know, it was pretty intense. And so I took that to heart and called these guys and let them know, like, hey, I think we might be onto something really awesome here. I don't know what it is, but let's be intentional about listening to whatever it is we're supposed to write. And let's not go up there with any big ideas. Let's go up there with little pieces of the puzzle and see what happens. And the initial, I guess, what we were supposed to do initially was just get some, you know, choruses, some cool hooks with music, and then go back home and then continue writing on it. But as we listened and then we started working and hammering away at every idea, it just all these songs just pieced together just like instantly. And it was like watching like an artist paint. It was kind of like out of body, just watching us work, and it was like, wow, this is coming together so fluidly and so organically. I couldn't even believe it. And so, you know, and most people take, you know, sometimes a year to write a record and up to 60 or 70 songs. And we wrote this record in 14 days and finished the record in 12 and had 2 days off.
Wow.
It was crazy. And every day that we'd come back and show Joe, our label owner, every day he was just like, this is crazy. Like, I didn't even think you were capable of this. And it's like, man, it was cool, you know? So,
absolutely.
But the process was just, it was awesome to do as a team and have the ability to bounce ideas off each other. And even if you don't like them, it was just, you know, just taking off that vulnerability and saying, hey, what about this? I don't like this, what about this? But then you just start grooving and you start creating. It was awesome.
How would you describe the sound of this album to new listeners?
That's a good question.
That is a great question. I think the one thing the lyrical content in this is communicated to the listener that we've been in those dark places. Like we're a real band, and that's one thing that we're very intentional about after the shows is meeting people and listening to them. And we feel like that's a huge thing. So in the lyrical content, I feel like that's what's communicated. Now in the musical content, I think you're going to see or hear diversity in its full extreme, but you're also going to hear, when you hear diversity, there's a lot of, it's not just coming from one person. You know, like a team, one man can never beat a team is kind of a motto we go by. And so you'll see parts, or listen to parts, I keep saying see, listen to parts that kind of just take you on a journey, and then kind of just turn into this just this guide and crescendo type mentality to it. So, and on a musical standpoint, that's where I'm coming from with that. So maybe they have something different.
I would say that there's something we were intentional about what we were doing. So I think we were intentional with the styles. What we were, you know, we wanted to make sure that we're a rock band, so we wanted to make sure that we still stayed within that rock guidelines. But I also wanted to give people something that opens up. It just doesn't stay in one lane. And so I would say the sound is not like one lane for rock. You know what I mean? So this is how I described it for our label, is that we didn't just give you just a rock record. It's a great rock record, but we also opened up the highway for you to go to, like, you know, rock, you know, your pop stations, your CCM stations, you know, and we wanted to be able to do that so that there's something for everybody on this record, and it wasn't just directed towards one group of people. So, I mean, that's I guess if that sums up the sound for you.
Absolutely.
It
was a better description than I gave. I was like, oh, I wish I would have said that.
Listen, I'm a philosopher.
So sound aside, how else do you think that you could say that your band has evolved over this process of creating this record?
Oh,
That's I mean, we've evolved physically with members, or a member, but I think we just, you know, every artist has the need to want to grow, and I think for us, like, there's a creative in all of us, and I think there's a creative in everybody, and then that creative could be like with business or art, or, you know, working as a teacher or whatever. That's like your creative, and for us, music is what God placed into our hearts and our lives, and so I think we wanted to grow, and when that creative isn't growing, it gets comfortable, and I think don't think that we were necessarily comfortable, but I know that our creatives were wanting to just break out and do something different because, it's that definition of insanity. It's like you keep doing the same thing, expecting different results, but nothing changes, and so we wanted to do something different and just to open up to whatever the ideas were. I mean, we could have written the greatest country record in the world. We had no idea.
That's right,
But it was just, for us, it's just being able to be vulnerable and communicate those thoughts without hurt feelings, and you know what I mean? Like, it's being able to take constructive criticism from others, and especially each other, especially amongst your peers, even if the idea is like you don't like it. But I definitely think that the growth came when we were doing these writing sessions, where it's just there's so much more that we wanted to throw into it that we'd never been able to do in the past. So it was just really exploring uncharted territory for us that was really exciting.
There's a saying that the drummer always has the best seat in the house because he gets to see everything, and that statement rings true in the studio. I literally watched my bandmates fall in love with music again, and I watched it happen. It was one of the coolest things, myself included, and we were just so excited about where this was headed. From day one, we already had a song in the bag, and so we were just so excited, and if we weren't in the studio, we were 8 to 10 hours every day. We were coming up, we were just working, and then we were bunking out at Joe's house. So it was like, man, this is what it should all be about when you're creating art, and we were having fun, and we were laughing till our stomachs hurt, and we were making quality music, and that's something for 20 years, 25 years down the road, I'll never forget, and so I feel like we evolved closer as a band, as friends, as personal friends, and yeah. So.
It's one thing to when you write a record away from each other, where you're just kind of piecing it together, but when you're together and you're going through the motions together, I mean, it was like if you'd have been at the house, you guys would be like, do you guys ever sleep? Because there were days where we were just plucking away at the acoustic guitar, or I was just sitting out back. I mean, there were just some nights I would just sit and be like, all right, God, what are we writing tomorrow? Because there was like, I think we were like 10 or 11 days in, and I was like, I'm tapped, dude. I have nothing else to give. And all of a sudden, I just start hearing this melody, and I was like, all right, it's just. So a lot of that too is just the growth too for us is also just being diligent and listening to, and being obedient to whatever that sound was supposed to be. So rather than trying to put our own thing into whatever this was going to be, and so that was huge for us.
Were there specific things that were going on in your lives that kind of impacted the songs that you wrote?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
oh yeah.
Absolutely. Could you share?
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, the record is titled "Tension," and tension is it's universal. Everybody feels tension. It's sometimes it's like the most heavy feeling when you're in a room with somebody that you have issues with, or when there's something going on, you feel that tension. You can tell, and it's not just evident to one person; it's evident to everybody. It's like, whoa, and we went through some things, some management changes, and I think it's just this year. I mean, obviously, not just with the record there was growth, but for us as a band there was growth because we were changing the guard of management. We were letting one person go, and then not sure where things were going to go, and then there was getting signed by Rockfest Records, and then there was like the challenges. So I mean, there was a lot of tension that we were like, and stress that came along with it. They were like, okay, we got to do this, and then there were members that were busy with other things, and we knew that we had to work, and it's, what I mean. And so then our previous guitar player, he ended up breaking his wrist on stage during a show, and he ended up having some issues with that as far as like getting healthy, and he wasn't able to perform the way he wanted to, and I think there was a lot of tension with him because of where he was at, and for us it wasn't necessarily amongst us, but you could see with him he was fighting like something, and just the joy that he had before was kind of diminished a little bit. So but the thing is about tension is if you face it head on, that's when you feel that pressure release, and it's like no matter the outcome of like good or bad, you just know that you did your due diligence to say and kind of take care of the situation. And so for us it was a big year of really being able to focus on taking on tension head first and being okay living in the tension sometimes, but knowing that we are going to come out okay on the other side. And that's one thing. Like being in a band with 4 dudes, like, and you're in a van constantly, I mean, there's always going to be something that pops up where situations become tense, and it's like, okay, what do we do? Do we fight like brothers and go out and just beat each other up? Or do we figure out, like, how do we talk this through and come out on the other side okay? It's just like there's always a constant learning curve with it. So that's kind of like the Cliff Notes version of like some of the things we've been through. I mean, all of us have been through some crazy things personally, but as far as the band goes, I think that was a lot of what went into writing this record, was just learning to be okay in that.
Yeah, during this writing process, the writing process was absolutely a reminder that life happens at an extreme rate. And so when we were doing these writing sessions and all this amazing stuff was happening, the excitement and joy of music was happening, life back home for all of us was going downhill in certain instances. And I'll let them, if they choose to speak about that, for their personal. But in my life, my wife is going through a kidney transplant, and when I was up here doing the record with the guys, it was very hard. She would call me and just be so scared, the fear of death, the anxiety, the medications she was having to take where she wasn't used to. She didn't know how to feel, and she's like wanting to call me, FaceTime me, and it was extremely hard. And I'm like, trying not to carry that into the studio, but you can't delete it from your mind because it's your wife. But if you go into the studio with a bad mindset, that's the writing session that never went anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so we always tried to be mindful about that, and was like, there's nothing we can do about it back home, and that's almost the worst feeling. But we're here to take care of a mission that is for our families too. So we're up here working for our families as well as we were doing it, and that was what got me through. And I got to lean on my brothers in that instance. They got to lean on me too because they were going through some stuff too. So it's something we'll never forget, and it's definitely why this record's called Tension, mm-hmm. and we incorporated it into the music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We just wanted to keep it as honest as we could, absolutely. You know, and like we're not the kind of band that wants to go out and just write about, you know, like sunshine and bunnies. Let's be honest, like, life is only like sunshine and bunnies occasionally, you know, and it's not all exciting, and it can be really dark sometimes. And that's just, we want to be able to relate with people and have people relate with us. And when we came up with the title Tension, like we mulled around different titles, and you know, we really liked one because the artwork was cool, and you know, our label's like, you can't just like a title because the artwork looks cool. And we're like, what? It would work if we weren't signed. Even he's like, well, and he's like, well, you're signing. You know, like, but you know, when we talked about it, we're like, what about tension? It's just, that makes sense. And like, even when we wrote the song, I just remember like, I won't go into all the gritty details, and there's not, like, we're sitting here going, oh, this is like a terrible thing, but it's really like, it was once in a while, not all the time. Yeah. You know, we're not constantly like dudes that live in tension and like, oh man, we're just like the worst. But you know, like, I remember when it happened, and we were talking, we process through a lot of things together, whether that's in our personal lives or with the band, and processing through that, you could just feel the tension, not with us, but other people, like the situation we were going through, and it was like, man, like we really need to like, let's hit on this and figure out what this is, and if there's a creative way to talk about it. And then we did, and it just like the way that I wish he could have been in the studio when it happened. We were going through the music, and I was like, what about this? You know, I was like, I feel the tension, and he's like, okay, and then I was like, and then we go, you know, the music like hits, and it's just like, and there's like, Josiah was like, I hear it, it's amazing, let's go. It just came alive. It popped, yeah. And I was like, wow, and it was cool. So.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
What was the last track that you thought, like, was the one that you knew completed the album and brought it all together?
Oh, yeah. That's my very first. This is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, let's start Rob starting on. I know the last one that we wrote.
Like, you mean like the last one that, or like the song that you were like, whoa, this is completing the record? Yeah, not necessarily the last record.
Not necessarily the last one you wrote, right?
Probably White Flag, I think, for me.
Nice. Yeah.
I think, man, that's a tough question. For me, the song I think completed it was, that's tough. I'll come back.
It's okay. Go ahead. Think about it, man. It's a great question. For me personally, our song called So Close. So we were writing it on Joe's back porch. We had an off day, and it just kind of came together, but we all agreed on the premise being about our wives. We couldn't do this without them.
Yeah.
And on any record, well, especially I'm the newbie in the band, not with him, but 5 years before he joined. And so any record I was on, we never had a song that was dedicated to our wives, our kingdom back home. And so when we did that, I thought that was really cool, and I thought it was just something that really did complete the album, because what we do on the road is not possible without him, and it's not possible without God either. And we incorporated both. On the greatest gift he gave us in this life too is his life and our wives, and we got to put both of them on the album. So for me personally, that's what completed it.
I think I would definitely have to agree with that one. That would have been mine, because that was actually the last song.
Boom, we're even now. You got me on description.
But I think too, there's just so many songs on here that, I mean, if we could have gone in order of it and been like, oh, this record's done. I don't know. If I could have like really pinpointed the last one, but definitely So Close, because I think it is, and Outgrown, because it's they're strictly to our families. I think Outgrown's about like from us to our children, and then from like God all encompassing to us. And that song is about watching your kids grow up, or like as God watches us grow up and walk in life. As we're growing up, you see, this is such a rookie move.
This is 3 times now.
Rookie,
3 interviews, 3 times.
Gotta go pick up my kids.
That's what it is.
as a rookie.
Oh, hey, that was perfect. He's talking about Outgrown.
Yeah, look at that.
Kid's alarm goes off. It's great.
But not it is about. See, that's another rookie.
I didn't do that. That wasn't me.
That's Rob calling the station.
Rob's calling, going, hey,
How do I
take the
divert
focus
this?
off me.
Go pick up my kids.
But no, that song is Outgrown is about watching your children grow up, and they shed that, like metaphorically, they shed like their skin of like innocence and adolescence as they're growing up into adulthood. And as parents, you watch them, you still, like, I have 2 boys that are 3 and 6, and since they're babies, like watching them grow up, I still like see them when they were babies running, and then I see those pieces of them that are running, and I hold on to it because those were such precious pieces of them. And then So Close is just for our wives, like they're the toughest. I mean, people are like, oh, men are so strong, but women are the strongest people on the planet. Like they from everything they do in our lives, in our marriages, and to support our ministries and our band, it blows me away that my wife hasn't just called and been like, you're done with this, you're getting a job at Wendy's, get home now. You know what I mean? Like, she could. But we definitely want to honor our families and those, and they just, I mean, like we said earlier, they just came about, and it wasn't like, you know what, guys, we're just gonna write this song about our wives. It just happened, and it was awesome.
As the only member of the band that doesn't have kids, I watch all these guys and amazing fathers, and but from the outsider's perspective, who doesn't have kids, when I go and I drop them off from tour and I'm making my way back to Texas, I notice that they see their kid and they're like, you got bigger, and so they get bigger when they come home, and their hair's a little longer and things are different. And music being timeless, this is a song that their kids and their kids' kids can listen to forever and know that Daddy did it for them.
Yeah.
And that has a huge impact on me for my future kids, and watching these guys has been a great influence on me. So
I can say that because right before I joined, they sent me the album to listen to and kind of think it over, and the track that stood out to me that made this is what I'm gonna move forward with these guys was Motivation.
Yeah.
That was the one out of the entire one that I think that somehow just stood out sonically. It just set the bar of this is where we're gonna go. There's no stopping.
Yeah, man, it's great to hear.
That's one of my faves, dude. This whole record is that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Like, the funniest question we get asked is, "What's your favorite off the new record?" And I'm like,
Yes.
I could not tell you what my favorite one.
All of them. You just say yes.
Because when you think favorite, you think about leaving the other ones behind. It's like, I don't want to do that.
They're babies. We got 10 little babies.
Seriously.
For our last question, how are you guys going to define success with this new release?
Platinum records, billions of dollars, and
I
maybe
saw that
Ferrari.
they cleared a spot for us.
How's that sound? We have a couple. He cleared out for ours. I think we should individualize. I think that's a great question. So start with you, Rob, before.
For me, it would be if one person gets saved from listening to this, it was all worth it. For me, that's that would be successful?
I think success is definitely one of those. It can be defined any way you look at it. So obviously, some people do is like money and power and fame and all this. But if we were doing it for all that, we would have quit 10 years ago.
Oh, man.
I kind of define success, I mean, obviously, with aside from the spiritual side of like hoping that this helps people out wherever they're at and guides them to hope, and we get to see them at a show, pray with them, or whatever. For me, I feel like we're already successful because when my wife heard this record for the first time, and I always bounce things off her too. I'm like, what do you think about this? I don't want your honest opinion, and she's like, this is something I want to listen to, like over and over again. And she's like, hate to say it, some of your old stuff, I don't care for it, but I want to listen to this. I'm going to listen to this. And I was like, wow. And so for me, I was like, I made it. We created something my wife likes, and it's just stoked.
The way I would define success with this record would be, in any business, sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love what we do. I don't take a day of it for granted. And I always say I'm enjoying the ride because we all know at some point we're going to get older, and we're not going to be able to drum as fast, play that sweet pick section as fast, maybe. But I would love to know from 20 years from now that we're still doing something musically together, and it's because of this record, and like I just never want to stop doing what we do. The people I met have changed my life for the better.
Mm-hmm.
The places we have gone have changed my life, and I just never want this train to stop. So
yeah, we talked about that. Like, this is something we want to do till we're 60 and look back at our kids and be able to say, we worked hard, and we worked hard not just for ourselves but for you, and this can open the door for you to do whatever you want, and that just shows you, like, if you are called to do something and you follow that path, that God will 100% lead the way and open the doors. Sometimes it's gonna suck, sometimes it's gonna be amazing, but that's one of the big things, definitely. So look back when we're old and doing reunion tours and going, wow, how is it that we're still doing this? How is it one of us are not dead?
I got an oxygen tank. I'm 100 years old, bro. I'd do it. I would.
What about you, Micah?
Mine is kind of similar to Aaron's. When my wife heard the record before, I said yes to the guys. It was probably the first record that I played for her that she was like, this is something you need to take serious. It's not just some other opportunity that, has come your way. And then I think the second part is, for me, success is like, after every season, you can look back and you've seen how you've grown. I mean, I can myself, like the last 5 years, like every year I kind of evaluate where I'm at. I'm like, I've grown so much. I've gotten, met all these goals and stuff. And to me, that's success. If you want to look back, like, what, I've grown.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think that's
I love
spot
that.
on.
Well, we're so excited to hear the new music. We appreciate you sitting down and talking with us.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you so much.
It was